Hello, Simon.
Hello, John.
So, I've been playing around with the new Google Notebook LM AI tool and given it a bunch of contextual information about a new service that we're releasing. And, well, what it's created is a kind of like a radio broadcast podcasty thing of its thoughts on all the background information I've given it.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Is it any good?
Well, let's see, shall we? And how about we do one of those like reaction videos? Have we ever done one of those before?
Personally, I have not. This is because my happy face is very similar to my angry face. It's kind of I have a very British level of expression, which is just sort of a neutral or resting, slightly disappointed face.
Well, perhaps we'll have to overemphasize then, shall we? Well, I've never done it before, so let's
Yeah,
give it a spin, shall we? You ready?
yeah, go for it.
Right, here we go.
Ever just pour your heart and soul into a project only to hit that wall?
Totally. Like burnout right before the finish line.
Exactly. It's like the pressure of shipping code kind of overshadows the fact that, well, people are the ones actually writing it.
Yeah. And that's a story we hear way too often. But what if there's a way to flip the script?
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more about this.
So that's what's so cool about today's deep dive. We're really getting into this whole human-centric engineering thing.
Human-centric engineering.
Yeah, HCE for short. And it's all about how putting the well-being of engineers front and center can actually lead to better software. We've got a ton of cool stuff to dig into from the folks at Human-Centric Engineering. They've got their philosophy, a glimpse into the services they offer, even this thought-provoking self-reflection survey for, get this, engineering leaders.
Okay, hold up. So we're not just talking about like fancy ergonomic setups,
No,
right?
no, no. This is way bigger.
Yep.
Like fundamentally changing how we view engineering culture. Their philosophy statement really sets the tone. They say the creators are as important as the creation itself.
I like that.
Right. And they break it down even further. They've got these 10 core principles for this new approach.
All right, so let's get into these principles. What's like the first one that grabs you?
One that I find super interesting is how they see developer experience. Like it's the metric for productivity.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're basically saying when you genuinely prioritize engineers' well-being, happiness even, productivity just follows naturally.
That makes a ton of sense, actually. I've been in those crunch time situations, and when the pressure to deliver overrides everything else, it kind of blows up in your face. People burn out, mistakes happen, and the whole project takes a hit.
Exactly. And it's not about like babying anyone. It's more about recognizing that when engineers feel good, supported, they're more invested, more creative, and yeah, way more productive.
So it's less about just turning out code faster and more about turning out better code faster.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that actually leads us to another core principle. They call it engineering teams are complex adaptive systems.
Okay, that sounds a tad intimidating. Break that down for me.
Okay, so think about that project you mentioned, the pressure cooker one, right? Well, picture engineering teams, kind of like those pressure cookers. They're these dynamic systems where individual personalities, team dynamics, how the organization's structured, it all mixes together to shape the final outcome.
So you're saying you can't just like tweak one thing and hope the whole system magically gets better.
Exactly. It's about understanding that everything's connected, that a team's like this living organism that you need to nurture and support.
So how do we actually like nurture that living organism? How do we take these principles from theory to reality, especially within a team?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, the human-centric engineering folks, they've been busy cooking up some seriously cool tools and resources. Yeah. One that really caught my eye is this self-reflection survey they've created specifically for engineering leaders.
Okay, I'm always up for a good self-reflection. What's the deal with this survey?
They've actually gone and visualized these different aspects of leadership with this really cool 4-quadrant model.
Ooh, I love a good visual. Tell me more about this 4-quadrant thing.
All right, so picture a square, right?
Yeah.
But it's divided up into 4 equal parts. They've labeled these parts I, it, we, and its.
I, it, we, it's... Okay, I'm following so far. What do these quadrants actually represent, though?
So each one represents a different but totally interconnected part of what it means to be a really effective leader, through that human-centric lens.
Okay, I'm hooked. Walk me through it. What's the deal with each quadrant?
Let's start with I. All right,
Okay.
This one's all about the leader's inner world.
Inner world, like what's going on up here? Gestures to head.
Exactly. We're talking self-awareness, emotional intelligence, their values, even their own personal experiences. It's about understanding your strengths, weaknesses, and how your emotions, might be playing a role in your actions.
So it's like that old saying, know thyself, but applied to leadership.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Can't really lead others effectively if you don't have a handle on yourself first,
All
right?
right. Makes total sense. Now, what about it? How does HCE see the more, tangible skills of a leader?
It is all about those observable skills, the measurable stuff. Things like technical proficiency, how they solve problems, make decisions, how they communicate, their ability to influence others. You got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
So having the technical skills and the people skills to really lead a team.
Exactly. And that takes us right to the we quadrant, which I think is where things get super interesting. This one's all about culture and relationships, how individuals function as a team.
Because you could have a team stacked with rock stars, but if they can't collaborate or even stand each other, good luck getting anywhere, right?
Tell me about it. The we quadrant is about building that psychological safety net, making sure there's trust, encouraging empathy, and cultivating that feeling of belonging, a shared purpose within a team.
So it's bigger than just individual goals. It's recognizing that the team is its own entity, right? With its own dynamics.
You nailed it. And lastly, we arrive at the it's quadrant, which is where we zoom out to the bigger picture, the organization, the strategic level.
So we're talking how the engineering team fits into the bigger puzzle of the organization and its goals.
Exactly. This quadrant emphasizes how important it is to understand how the organization works, navigating the politics and social dynamics, and ultimately making sure the team's efforts align with the big picture goals.
So it's like they're not just stuck in the weeds. They see how their work impacts the entire organization.
Exactly. And that's really what's so cool about this 4-quadrant model. It shows how all these different parts of being a leader, they all connect.
It's like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts,
Right.
right? But actually putting that into practice, well, that's a whole other thing.
Oh, for sure. And the folks at Human-Centric Engineering, they get that, which is why they created this self-reflection survey with the 4 quadrants in mind. It's a way for leaders to kind of take stock, see where their strengths and weaknesses lie across all those dimensions.
So it's a tool for them to diagnose their leadership style, figure out where they might have blind spots and where they could, step it up.
Exactly. And they're all about walking the walk because they've actually open sourced all the survey questions.
No way, really. What kind of questions are we talking about here?
Well, instead of going through every single one, because, that could take a while.
Right.
Hey, what do you think so far, Simon?
Yeah, I was just writing a couple of notes down from some of the things that came up. It's like, it's ridiculously impressive, right? What it's done with what it's been given. I think what we're hearing back is not the words that we put in. Okay, so for example, earlier on it was talking about things like happiness and well-being, which are things we sort of actively don't talk about in sort of our materials and our communications, but it's sort of extrapolated that from things that we've put in there. And then just now you're talking about what did the female voice say? It was like diagnosing your leadership style, right? That's phrasing we haven't thought of or come up with. I quite like that, so I wrote it down. What do you think?
Well, I like the way that they do weave it together in sort of an unfolding story. So it's like a genuine conversation, but yet it's not real. There's aspects to it where there's not. And as we're talking now, I'm stuttering a bit. There's some pauses, and I'm thinking, but they've got it's very scripted. It's very scripted, obviously, because it's AI generated. But it's scripted in a way that actually, I think, pretty well ties together what we try to say in actually a pretty good way. If we could articulate our offerings as well as they can, I think we'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I agree. Very interested to hear your take. So the 4-quadrant model like it's just been talking about, is we pulled that from integral theory. That's where we got that model from. Did they do a good job, do you think, of explaining the 4 quadrants as we have applied it in what we're doing?
Well, they had the information and they had the source of that, but they didn't mention integral theory at all. So I wonder if they just kind of tried to simplify it, take out any complexities for like a broader audience. But maybe as we listen to it some more, maybe it will come up. I don't know. Shall we carry on with the rest of their conversation?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cool.
Think of it this way. Each quadrant has questions meant to make you really think about things, maybe encourage some growth in that specific area.
Got it. So like for the I quadrant, we might see questions about how well a leader understands and manages their own emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
And then for we, maybe questions about how they build trust and collaboration within their team.
Now you're getting it. And what's really neat is that even just taking the time to think about those questions, it can spark real change.
It's like holding up a mirror to how you lead and asking, am I really practicing what I preach when it comes to being human-centric?
Exactly. It's not about being perfect. It's more about always trying to improve, seeing where you can grow as a leader, and in the process, building that human-centric engineering culture.
This deep dive has been honestly eye-opening. Like my whole perspective on what it means to be a good leader in tech, it feels different.
I get it. It's a good reminder that there are actual people behind all of this, the code, the apps, you name it.
Absolutely.
They have their own needs, and when we focus on those needs, everybody wins.
Couldn't agree more. So for our listeners who are, itching to learn more about human-centric engineering, maybe even take that self-reflection survey for a spin. You know where to find it.
All the links are in the show notes.
Definitely worth checking out. Until next time, keep diving deep. And remember, the future of engineering, well, it's human.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit cheesy, and they like us a lot. So it's a little bit sort of sycophantic and a bit nauseating in that way. And also there's
but
this
very understandable because we're very likable.
Well, perhaps, yeah. Perhaps they've just nailed us, yeah. But I don't know. It's kind of in the back of my mind. I'm also thinking, well, okay, what are the consequences of this kind of technology, and where's it going? And I think you learn things. Like we learn things now in multiple ways. You read things on the internet, you read it in a book, and you listen to podcasts. And that's how you absorb and integrate information. So I don't know. Is this going to be a good learning tool? To synthesize information and present it in a way that unfolds that's more acceptable to our to where we are. But equally, I can also see the dystopian, sort of scaremongery type uses of this, and how easy it would be to kind of fake reality, which we see so much of now already.
Yeah, very true. Let's not go too dark. Yeah, but so just I guess to tie it together at the end, we don't necessarily have any show notes, so there aren't any links in the show notes. But wherever this is, so the self-reflection leadership survey is a real thing and it does exist, and so you can find that be on our website, or we will put a link to it wherever, right? Whether it's in a post or an article or whatever, we'll make sure there's a link to it so everyone can go and check it out and see what it was that the AI loved so much.
Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was our first reaction experience, and it's good to know that the future of engineering is human, as the voice said.
Yes, indeed.
Right, okay, well, I'll see you again soon.
Yep, see ya.